Hey everybody, Texas Stroker here, Lance's Performance Shop, Lone Star Mopars.com. Midweek Wednesday night, 10:24 p.m. Gotta get this done quick so I can get inside, work out, shower, start a new day, go to work, because millions depend on me. But, anyway, out here trying to live a good little life in free time land, and I'm kind of doing a compilation of some housekeeping. Very satisfying with the back end of what we've got going. This is sort of a two-in-one type of a tool haul, and I've had this stuff just kind of sitting out here behind me waiting, and I recently did another mega order of a product that ties in with it, and I finally decided to pull the trigger. I have little spits of time here, can't really do anything too crazy, and it seemed like a good way to pass the limited free time. So what we've got, I honestly, somewhere I would have the packing list or invoice where I've written all of this down, but I'll get into why I'm not going to hunt it out here in just a second. But basically what we have, this stuff was sourced from Zoro. It is part number J52212. If I bring that down, you might have a rough idea of what's in there, right? And this was a 3H drive 12-piece 6-point socket set. It is metric. It is 8 to 19. In this box, we've got J5 2124. And judging by the box, right, we have got a 3H drive socket set. This one 13 pieces. You get an extra socket, if you will. And this is 12-point. And you're thinking like, okay, wait a second, I thought you'd brought one of those in here recently, 12-point. And that'd be correct. I got that to take to work. Slowly going to fill it out. And one of the reasons that I did that was the price. And I'm not sure, I may have had that one prior. But let me just jump into phase 2 here, all right? What we did, we had a mega haul from Ernst, and it ties in with those sockets. I'm going to turn around. We're going to throw that down. We're going to throw that down. And we're going to throw this down. Then I'm going to turn the other direction and grab this. So, star of the show is a 3/8 drive Ernst Blue 13-inch rail. You can buy these just like this. That's what we did in that haul. They're very, very reasonable. No, you don't have to get 3. No, you don't have to get 2. No, you don't have to put them in a tray. No, you don't have to buy the blue rail by itself, the pegs by themselves, and the labels by themselves. You can literally just buy the rail. And the rail comes with 13 pegs, and, or I should say, I think 14, and it comes with a sheet of labels, so you're kind of home free. This is populated just like I need it for one of those sets. And I know what you're saying. You're like, whoa, hey, what's going on here? You got 2 boxes of sockets, and you've got 3 socket sets, and presumably a 4th to fill this out. That is correct. And there's very good reason for that, and that reason is quite simply in-car. I've kind of hit on it in the past here and there. Some of you might have put it together, but I was trying to kind of build out an in-car toolkit, right? Something that was decent quality. And I never, in my wildest imagination, thought that we would be sourcing Proto for that. Why? I'm thinking something, a little cheaper, maybe not as nice, something you could lose, get lost behind, but you don't want to go too cheap. If you're sitting there, it's like something simple, like you tossed a belt and you just need to kind of like tighten up, a bolt or 2 on your alternator to kind of bring it back up or something when you make the change. I don't want to put a socket on there and just feel it mushroom, against the impenetrable force of a grade 5 fastener. I want it to be good enough to get me back on the road if possible, right? Some things, you throw a rod through the block, you grenade your transmission, you're probably not going to fix that on the side of the road. But something simple, tweaking the carb, again, throwing a belt, alternator goes out, coil, anything basic that you could take care of. Similarly, you know, if you're driving to a car show or you're driving to the track, may not even be you, it might be a buddy, might be someone in your car club. You might just be a good Samaritan and help get the Mustang off the road, right? I'll probably need gloves for that so you can push well. But this was just too good of a deal to pass up, all right? These are typically retailing for a very reasonable amount of money. Again, I constantly say this because I genuinely believe it. It's what I see and what I have seen. It is insanely difficult to beat Proto or Koken in terms of the price to quality ratio. Would I love to roll out in the Duster and, you know, pop the trunk and have a full kit of snap-on stuff? Sure. Would I be fine if these said Mac? Yeah. Do I want to pay for that and then lose it? I mean, it could be in the pit area at the track, and if you lose your 9/16 or an expensive spark plug socket or something, you got a void. The good news is you can replace them individually, but you just lost, you know, $30 in sockets, right? Well, same thing with a Ratchet. You sort of got to think about this stuff. Again, what's that fine line between saving money, not because you're cheap, but because, again, someone could break in your car. You could be at a hotel with a family, right? Someone could break in your car and steal your stuff. They could break in your truck. They could rip the tonneau cover off. They could just literally be looking for stuff they can flip at a pawn shop to get cash to score drugs or something. You have to be prepared for that. I don't really want to lose Stavila sockets. I don't want to, like, oh, hey, this is a great closeout on Ghidorah. Yeah, but I don't really want to lose that either because I couldn't replicate it. You know, I've gotten some dirt cheap Ghidorah sockets, but let's say that I'm at the track and somebody steals 3/8 and 1/2 inch drive socket set. I'm not going to be able to replicate that. Like me lucking into those deals that we've picked up over time, piece by piece, it's not going to happen, or it's going to take, again, a couple of years. That's where something like Pittsburgh or Quinn or Icon or Husky or Gear Wrench for some of you, or hey, Napa's having a closeout on this and they seem pretty good. That type of a deal. In car now, I kind of, with the old cars, I've been hopping some like mid-90s kit around. It was like one of those ones with the pop-out triangular hazard light. If you break down the multi-bit ratcheting screwdriver, some stuff. It's actually decent. For a long time, that was my only 13/16 spark plug socket. So it was frequently opened up. The case is surprisingly never broken. But it was actually a pretty solid kit. They don't really make stuff like that anymore, which is a shame. I don't know if it's like twofold. People don't care and people don't want to do that. It's a different world, right? And while I could swap that back and forth sometimes, like I've intended to have that, and I've rolled out in the Duster trying to get to a cruise night or something, I'm like, oh geez, you know, I forgot my kit, or I don't have the charger, I didn't throw the spare parts box in, type of a deal. That's where this stuff comes in. Having it per car, kind of overkill. Again, I intended to do it cheap, you know, get like Harbor Freight stuff on sale and be like, well, you know, it's probably going to be good enough. And, you know, if I lose a set of Quinns or a little Pittsburgh set, I can replace it. If I wait 2 weeks or something, or a month, I can get a pretty good buy on it, you know, type of a thing. But again, then in the back of your mind, your only worry is like, is it, you know, like, am I going to be able to do this? What if I need to like break those weird bolts free? And you get into a really difficult thing with what do you have, what do you not have, what's overkill, what do you want to risk losing. Again, it doesn't always have to be criminal, you know, it doesn't have to be your arch nemesis, you know, or Clyde Camaro comes by and takes your stuff just to be a jokester type of a thing. It could genuinely be like you were there, everyone was great, they helped you, but you left your stuff, it rolled away, you looked for it, you even knew it was gone, you couldn't find it, type of a thing. These price points were so good, I, again, could not pass it up. What am I talking about? I'm talking about like these being slashed down to like low 60s. I want to stand this up here. This is a very comprehensive socket set. We go from tiny, tiny quarter all the way up to a massive 1-inch. So yes, those of you who always like to remind me I need 1-inch wrenches and sockets for K&N filters, you can change your K&N filter at the track with a socket and torque it back down to ridiculous specs that require you to use it once again. So this is insane. You'd usually have like I don't know, 3/8 to 3/4, maybe 3/8 to 7/8. Luckily, some sets will include 1/4 and 5/16. Sometimes they go like 3/8 to 15/16, which again, that's very important to me at work. On the road, you know, it kind of remains to be seen, but this is an insanely comprehensive 3/8 drive SAE socket set, 1/4 to 1 inch. It's great. It's truly great. Some of you, I mean, you might be down here and you might just use like 1/4 to 3/4 and suspension. You're like, we're screwed. You know, we're getting a tow truck or grab the trailer type of a thing and come back. Same thing, the big end here, but this is all in one. And this was slashed down to about 63 bucks. I think I bought the one for work when they were like 65. I think they actually went a little lower, if I recall. I'm thinking like high 50s. And if you know anything about me, I don't just wait till something's on sale. I stack sales. That's how much I like being thrifty. All right, so when this drops, you know, from a modest price to a really good price, and then I can take 20% off of that, sign me up. All right, so let's just assume the worst case here, and it was slashed to 65 bucks. What is 20% of 65? Well, if we take 13 and multiply it 5 times, it's 65. 13, 26, 39, 52, 65. So if we slash one of those last ones off, we go from 65, take off 13 bucks, and we're at $52 for 1/4 to 1 inch. And you're thinking like, well, you know, that's pretty good. You could have done better with insert your favorite cheap brand from the jungle site. Well, that gets back to my question. Sure, maybe the fairly well-known brand from that site would last. Maybe they'd be good. Maybe, you know, with infrequent use, the roadside repair type of a thing, it wouldn't be an issue. I am extremely confident in these. Right? Going back to the alternator scenario where we just belt shreds and we've got to replace it. Do that on a Mopar, we're going to need to drop down, you know, over here on a little swing happy bracket. We got to take that bolt loose and let it slide down. And then when we raise it back up, we've got to be able to tighten it. Otherwise, the alternator's just over here flopping and we don't have a belt. Right? Even though it's new, it's intact, it's not shredded. We ain't going anywhere because we're not going to be able to drive the alternator, right? So this isn't going to be a problem. I have years and years and years of at-work experience with Proto. Okay, I'm super confident in these. 52 bucks. Some of you are like, oh, dude, you could have, you know, Quinn is going to be just fine. That's actually the direction I was going. I was like, I don't know about the Pittsburgh Chromies, you know, the impacts are kind of okay. I'm not sure. I want to chance the Pittsburgh Chromes. I don't really have a track record with them. And it's kind of like, well, maybe just do the mid-tier. It should be fine. And that's what I was doing. I'd actually bought some deep Quinns. I wasn't super happy with the size range. I was going to have to try to like wait for a sale on the shallows. And then these came along. And when you think about this being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 piece socket set. And this isn't like Proto Blackhawk. This isn't made in Taiwan. It's not some cheap import junk from China that's going to mushroom out and crack or be brittle or, you know, be like melting butter waiting to go off when you apply torque. These are made in America. These are made in Texas, and I've got experience with them. That comes out if we've got 13 sockets and we paid $52 on the sale with the discount, that's $4 a socket. Some of you now are kind of putting this together like, yeah, you know, you couldn't get a single socket at Harbor Freight like this, and $4, that's not bad, you know. And then you're thinking like, well, you could probably find these small ones less than that online. Yeah, but where can you get a 15/16 socket for $4 that's American made? Like, that's just insanity. So this became kind of a cool deal because, again, I didn't expect to have anything that nice. I was sort of, again, just everything that could go wrong. You lose it. Clean scenario, right? Buddies borrow it at the track or a car show. You never see it. You never get it back. They're not going to borrow the oddball size. They're going to borrow the sizes you use and you need, right? So if you're a half and 9/16 go away, you're up a creek, you know, when you go back to use it. If everything gets stolen, sure, you had awesome tools in your car or truck. Everyone knew it, you know, they always appreciated it. But then one morning you come out of the hotel and boom, everything's gone. You know, you don't really want to lose an expensive ratchet and expensive battery powered stuff, even hand tools. You'd rather have something cheaper. This is, I don't want to lose these. I don't want to lose them myself. I don't want them lifted. I don't want people to take them, borrow them, and inadvertently misplace them. These are great, but they're great at such a ridiculously low price. I'm going to be fine. if I'm out on the road and I've got like a headlight down and I need, 5/16, 3/8, 7/16, and I lose it and I'm like, frick, I can't find this thing. Rain comes, it gets cold, whatever. I can go buy another one and it's going to be cheap and I can get the same thing. It's straight up winning. So this right here will be going in the car. This is where we kind of deviated. This is 8-19. Sadly, it's the old style stamping from Proto. Nothing wrong with it, just not as cool or as high vis as the new ones. This will be going late model. That's going to go into the Challenger. Opted to go. I kind of thought I'd order 12 point. Maybe I didn't. Again, it's been some time. I just saw the deals and was like, I got to pull the trigger. This right here will be going in the Charger. That's why it's on the orange rail, by the way. And if you're like, whoa, hey, this is late model, what's it doing on blue? I know your color system. SAE is blue or orange and green is metric, man. You screwed the pooch there. No, because since it's a late model, the Mopar 10, it's all metric. I don't need SAE in there. I guess I technically could, like if I'm helping somebody or so on and so forth, but that aside, in theory I don't have SAE sockets that I need for that vehicle because there's nothing on there that would require that outside of overlap. So that becomes back to blue, which is my color preference. So there you go. This one should be blue, but again, it's going in the Charger. So boom, we got our Hemi orange color coordination to the max. And then this right here will be in the Duster, fully populated here in just a second. But we kind of have some funky stuff going on. Again, these are totally fine, absolutely fine. Old logo, nothing major. If I bring these two together though, and you're thinking like, okay, well, what's the deal? What do you have to complain about? I'm going to stand this up. Keep in mind, 1/4 to 1 inch. Yes, it's on a blue rail. Yes, it's packed in a little tighter than the orange rail. Notice anything? Some of you might. It's a little hard to tell from this angle. Let's see here. Anyone got a guess what I'm about to do? Here's what I'm about to do. I'm going to take the 15/16. You're like, okay, time to check the socket out. Well, let's do that while we're here. Again, some of you are like 12 point sick. I'd never do that. I love 12 point. They're versatile. They can do things 6-point sockets can't. Also, the whole thing, if they round corners off, a lot has changed since you heard that story, 25, 35, 40 plus years ago. Okay. If you've got a background as a machinist, you probably go for 12s anyway. Sometimes you've got 12-point fasteners. If you got some like high-end stuff on your vehicle, 6-point ain't going to do a 12-point fastener. Similarly, this will grab a square and a 6-point won't. It's just a little bit more versatile, all right? So if we look at this, it's very nicely done. The chrome is great. Again, there's the big Proto logo. You got your standalone part number. Very large, easy to see size. I know it's glaring here in person. It's not a big deal. You can see it very well. Again, very, very well executed. That's super high luster. Nice finish out on the inside, and you're like, okay, well, what's the problem? Well, I'm going to come in here and grab the 15/16. You're like, okay, you got your blue rail in the gloved hand. You've got the orange rail 15/16 in this hand. Does anyone see what's wrong? Anyone? Yeah, let's check the part number. J5230N. Closed up. Right here. Well, again, there's that one. Was this J5230? Oh, this is J5230. Indeed it is. Now, did I say J5230N, you're asking? I did. Well, what's the deal there? Well, do you see it now? This is a little bit taller, right? And you're thinking like, oh, they gave you a 1/2 inch shallow instead. Or like, wait, these both are 1/2 inch, right? Keep in mind, 15/16 is kind of big for 3/8 drive. You're like, well, that's definitely 3/8 drive. You're like, well, that's like identical. That's like the same socket. Put them back to back for us. What's the catch? So if you haven't figured it out, this is significantly longer. Now, Proto, one of their downfalls, they're not exactly the easiest catalog to peruse, okay? If you're like trying to replicate some of the stuff I brought in, like the super short sockets, good luck. If you don't watch my video, if they take that link down, which sometimes Zoro does, have fun. You'll have to go use my notes and hope I wrote the part number down and they haven't changed it or something, like updated it and changed it. It's kind of a nightmare to find it. I don't know what this is. I don't know. I'm guessing this is like a semi-deep is all I could figure. Again, I'm out here pretty late with work tomorrow. I'm assuming that's what the end must be. When I saw this in the bag, I was like, oh no, they gave me a 1/2 inch. And I was like, wait, that's 3/8. It's like, wait, that's 3/8. What's going on? So that is interesting to say the least, right? So I'm going to set that back down, tighten her up, and set this here, tighten that up. Now there's one more problem. It's going to be a little bit more difficult to discern, and I'll give you a hint. It's on one of these rails with sockets. Ooh, super helpful. Right, I'll give you another hint. It is not a problem on this rail. So we've narrowed it down. You know, and it's not the 15/16. This one's correct, right? Granted, I would love to have some semi-deeps. I'm going to have to investigate that, see what the prices are. There's a problem on this rail. You're thinking like, okay, well, take us through it. Let's see. They look really good, and one's a 6 point, one's a 6 point. No, they're all 12. All 12. What's the problem? Well, okay, start back at the beginning. Quarter, 5/16, 3/8, 7/16, half, 9/16, 5/8, 11/16, 3/4, 13, 11/16. That's an awful close 11 and 16. Hey, why is that harder to see? Look at that big, beautiful 3/4, and look at that 5/8 right there, and the USA. Why is this one not got USA in the big numbers? This is why. They've shipped us a 16 millimeter in this set. You tell me. I don't know. I'm sure they make a lot of sockets. I don't know how this one slipped through the cracks, quite literally. It's a 16 millimeter. And I know, here come the allegations. Lies! Lies, you say. Get this socket over here. You've crossed them, fool. You little buffoon on the internet making videos on tools. All right? And you're thinking like, show me the 16. Show us. You're like, oh wait, that's a 16 millimeter right there. And it's 6 point. Blast. He's foiled our plans. Yeah, this isn't me. Again, this ain't April Fool's. I'm out here trying to get inside, get some sleep, you know, all that good stuff. It's just stuff that happens. So sadly, you know, I've been sitting on these for a long time, in part because I was waiting on the Ernst rails, and I didn't open these up. So I'm going to have to hit up customer service and see what they want to do. This is great. Like, I think I can probably get a 15/16 chromie for pretty reasonable to just replace that. But my big thing now, like from my personal vantage, is like, if I can just put an N on the end of every one of these part numbers and it somehow is like a mid-length or something. Oh, yeah, I knew about the super shorts. I did not know if they had that. And even Mac is kind of hard, and they changed the vernacular. Super short versus stubby, low pro, they got all kinds of crazy stuff, but beautiful sockets, minus us needing the 11/16. That is kind of an important socket too. I don't think 16 crosses over there. I think 16, isn't that more? I don't do metric. You know, like, just leave me alone in the 60s, man. But outside of those issues, and if you're curious, you're like, oh no, what did they do wrong here? Nothing. Spoiler alert, nothing. That was my concern too. I was like, geez, you know, I got to check everything now. And this is all 3/8, all 12 point, 1/4 to 1, no issues. There's no like blemished socket or anything even. Just really boring, really vanilla, nothing exciting for a video. That's all I've got for you. So I am kind of torn. The truck, okay, the truck is where we cross over. We've got like same hardware on the motor, you know, like the main part, you know, engine block as we would have under the hood of the Duster. But then you get to like the fuel injection stuff and the sensors and everything, and it's all metric. And so that thing requires 2 sets, right? You know, in the Duster, I don't need metric. In the, you know, Mopar 10, we don't need old school SAE. The truck kind of requires both, or a crescent wrench, right? And that one I'm trying to figure out, because I had actually, again, not thinking I was going to stumble on a deal like this when the Icon semi-deeps came out. That's really why I bought those, because I was thinking like, okay, this is going in the truck. And if that Roto Ratchet sucks, it's going to go in the truck. And I still might do that, but I also might just keep them here. When I got those sockets, they are very light. They feel very strange to me. Not light in a good way, like space age titanium, you know, thin wall, intentional design, like light, like, you know, if this was really tight, I could put that socket on there, and instead of taking out like these are going to do, it's just going to turn this way, and the sidewall of the socket's going to keep going and get rounder and rounder, and this little hex thing is just going to stay there unfazed. I could totally be wrong. I have forced myself to use them and the 3/8 Roto a few times. I do mean a few. We've got lots of options, and I enjoy the selections. And when there's something I don't really like or I don't really trust, I tend to stay away. And so the Icon stuff, kind of spendy to lose, and realistically, like, these were in that ballpark, and that's what's crazy to me. Getting something this good for that cheap, I couldn't pass it up. So, plus me not having to constantly think, oh geez, you know, like you leave the house and, you know, you get half mile up the road and you're like, oh, dadgum, you know, I left the stuff. Sometimes it's just like your water or sunscreen or something. Sometimes it's something you're gonna like give somebody, you know, stickers or shirts, and then sometimes it's like, oh man. And you know how things go. If you have a tool set and then you don't have it with you, that's when you're going to have something stupid happen. Or if like you always have spare parts, you know, like an ignition box or something, and then you don't have it that one time, like, yeah, it'll be fine. You know, well, then it's not. Right? You might get where you're going, and you have your root beer float and visit, and then you try to leave, and it's like, uh-oh. You know, usually you can get bailed out. That's why it's important to be nice, you know, and people will respect you and help you out, and they're at least more willingly help you out. And otherwise you're kind of screwed. So it's going to be an expensive ordeal. But yeah, I'm going to quit rambling. This was a killer pickup, and again, I just kind of tied it in here for the heck of it. There's nothing, we're not modifying these socket rails or anything crazy. Beautiful, beautiful sockets, excellent, excellent quality sockets. And the price point that we got these sockets is absurd, like totally absurd. Fantastic deals. I hope some of you cashed in on that as well. It's almost one of those deals where I sort of like want to buy another set or two just in case. Like if I do lose a half or 9/16, I'm like, well, I've got one at home and it was so cheap, who cares? Type of a thing. But the quality of the socket coupled with the price is what did this. Like I've had this in the back of my mind for a long time, and then I was always like, what's that line again between quality and junk? Something you're willing to lose or have stolen, and something that you'd hate to have that happen to you. I don't want anything to happen to these, but it was just such a good deal, it's hard to say no. So that's what I got for you. Again, fantastic prices. Basically $50, which is insane for that big of a set. And then the Ernst rails also super reasonable. But yeah, let me know. We've talked about this a few times. What would you do? What are you running? You know, what is your philosophy? Do you want the very best? Do you want junk so you don't care what happens to it or if it gets taken, you know? Or do you try to find that like Tecton Capri Holy Grail mid-tier that you're like, this is good enough that if I need it, I'm going to be confident in it. It's not going to hurt me with failure, but it's reasonably priced enough or on sale frequently enough I can replace it. That's everyone's opinions are different, and it's just like a swinging pendulum, right, with shifting perspectives. So what you can do is weigh in with your opinion. This is what I would have liked to have done, but it's not what I was going to do. But with the price I was able to score this for, I kind of felt like I'd be an idiot to not do it. So I did it. And now you got something else to watch and you get something to talk about. But also, these are fantastic for road stuff. I mean, that's a heavy socket and they ain't going anywhere. We're about to time out there, so I did it. But yeah, super happy with these. And let me know if you buy Proto socket sets. Have you ever had this happen? Like you get a metric, or those of you buying metric get a random SAE or two. Sometimes I think I've had a previous deal where I've gotten 6 point instead of 12, or 12 instead of 6. Again, not the whole set, just like a socket or two. This little in one that is seeming to be like a semi-deep, that is really interesting to me. I'm going to investigate that, but I'm going to get inside. I hope you enjoyed, hope you learned a little something. Again, make sure to leave your thoughts down below. Some of you have walked this line, figured it all out, or at least done pretty good with what you've selected. Do you have horror stories where you had like a Walmart socket set that you're like, this will be fine, and then you just needed it, and first job it's junk and you can't complete it? Have you, on the flip side of that, did you like load out Snap-on in your truck and local meth man breaks in and takes it, or it was stolen? You know, freak deal, only time you've ever had anything stolen, right? No one would even know that you had it in there. If you've got horror stories one way or the other, make sure to share them. Again, it's a very, you know, murky area trying to figure out what's best, but at these prices, I'd have a hard time getting something cheap that comprehensive for the same price, and this is a known commodity, so that's what we did. With that said, LoneStarMopars.com is the website. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all three at Lone Star Mopars. If you enjoyed, leave a like. Again, leave your thoughts. If you have not subscribed, I encourage you to do so. If you subscribe, you ring the bell, you jump your charger across the creek, and you've got a full complement of dirt cheap Proto sockets you scored on sale, coupled to Ernst rails, and none of them come loose. YouTube just might notify you that we got new videos every Wednesday and Saturday, 9 a.m. Texas time. With that said, thanks again for watching, and I hope I catch you back here for more from the shop. And we're back. Why? Bonus content. So I want to highlight this socket fitment. Even though I've done this before, we'll just grab a 3/4. And we got some 1/2-inch bolt we got to deal with. This is a beautiful combination. This is a Mac axis, long flex head, Proto socket. Fits like a glove. Great ratchet action. This was not a cheap ratchet. I would be very, very sad if this was stolen or lost on the side of the road. I would probably spend a lot of time going back the next day with light to look for it. If I didn't find it, again, very, very sad man behind the camera. However, it would be a great ratchet. Wouldn't argue. I'd love to use it. That's where something like this comes in. That's one of the big reasons I was excited about these. While this is pretty impressive, especially for the price, like there's a lot that I'm not a fan of. The sockets pop a little bit. The ratchet, you know, is not necessarily the greatest internals. Mechanism, like, see what I mean? It just, that thing, the gear wrench flop or whatever, it's not quite as good there. But I am pretty confident that if we did toss a belt, shred a belt, and I had, again, the parts with me, I could change it. I'm confident if we're doing a drag and drive deal and I want to change my fluids, I don't think this Quinn is going to die in the parking lot, right? I don't think it's going to blow its guts out type of a thing. Reasonably priced. Again, if I lose it, if I have to use it as a hammer, whatever, I'd hate doing it. I still want to take care of it. But I would much rather have something happen to this than happen to this. Again, I would prefer to have this kitted out, really nice stuff. You know, has that 916, a Stavila, you know, 3/8, Mac flex heads. But this is going to get the job done, and I'm not going to worry near as much if something bad happens. So it's all things you got to keep in perspective. Again, if I stumble on a deal where Proto ratchets are priced like a Quinn ratchet, guess what? I'm going to clean out the inventory and we're going to throw some Proto ratchets with these. I don't think that's going to happen. And that's where this, to me, becomes something that, not the best, far from the worst, and I think I can trust it. So I've sort of been trying to get some more seat time with this for that very reason. If you wait for a sale, you can get a pretty good deal there, and then put the Quinn reasonably priced Ratchet with your dirt cheap quality socket. Not a bad setup for the road, but again, I hate not having like the socket fitment for you there. Again, the Proto and Mac is just perfect because again, they're from the same factory, so they should be. This one has a bit more play, you know, part Ratchet, part just the anvil to the socket, but it's gonna get me off the side of the road, right? If it can. So we'll leave it at that. And again, I hope I catch you back for more from the shop.